Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the AJ Analysis channel and another live stream, the first live stream of the week, for which I apologise. And Manchester United find themselves in another big old game. So today we have ourselves another big old tactical preview away from home against Arsenal. We've just beaten Manchester City. So if there's a time to go play Arsenal, it's right now with the players full of confidence. But of course, to beat Arsenal, we need to figure out what the Manchester United team can actually be. Who should be in the starting 11, who should play where, how we should set up, and how we should actually approach the game. So that is the aim for today's stream. I need some help from you guys in the chat coming up with this starting 11. And yeah, we'll go through it like that because once again, United have a great opportunity. Last weekend, an insane, incredible result helped United climb into the top 5. Now we need to build on it. You know, we sort of set the standard last week. We set the benchmark of that's where we've got to be at now in terms of application, in terms of technical quality, in terms of work rate and everything like that. We've sort of set the bar for ourselves now. So the challenge now is every week to hit those same levels. It doesn't mean you're always going to get the same results, but to hit those levels in terms of the idea and the way that we want to play. So, you know, yes, it's a difficult game. Of course it is. We're facing top of the league. We're facing Arsenal. Are they the best team in Europe right now and therefore the best team in the world? I mean, possibly. It's a big game, but last week was a big game and we saw how United turned up and put on a great performance, got a great result. We saw at the start of the season, literally the first game week, United actually outplayed Arsenal. So this game is there for us. It's not going to be easy, but it should be a fun one, and it should be a pretty fun one to talk about today because since we've seen a change in system, change in approach, I think it opens up some different conversations for us to have. So that's what we're going to do today. Before we do any of that, I do want to hear from you guys in the chat. I want to hear how you are, how your day's been, how your week's been, how you're feeling about Manchester United, how you're feeling about the Derby win, because this is the first time we've spoken since then. Let me know in the chat. It's time to be excited as a Manchester United fan, I think, but also, you know, a little bit of caution. Let's be sensible as well and not get too carried away. But we are going to win the Premier League title, so it should be good fun. Who have we got in the chat straight away? Well, I mean, straight away. We've got loads of people. And we've got David with a gifted membership as always. David, thank you very much. And congratulations on the good news this week, my friend. Thank you very much, as always, for the support. Always dropping that gifted membership right at the start. What a legend. What a legend. Guys, make sure to spam some love hearts to show some love for David. I never get your free memberships. Yeah, unfortunately, David can't choose where they go. It's completely randomized and, yep, they just fly anywhere. So you've got to be in the chat to be in for chance. But, yeah, unfortunately, we can't choose where they go. All good, brother. How's your week been? Pretty good, to be honest. I think I'm quite a simple man. My football team wins, plays well, beats a big side. You know, some of my favourite players play and play well. I'm happy. Yeah, I'm very happy. I think United were brilliant last weekend, right? And that high sort of, I think it carries you for the next few days. It's almost annoying that Manchester United play once a week this season because it's like, oh my god, I just want to play again. But also there is that weird positive where, you know, the good feeling from that last game gets to linger a little bit longer. We get to feel that win for a little bit longer heading into the next one. So yeah, I'm very good. I'm very good. Thank you, mate. Great result against City, but it does have the effect of raising expectations. Absolutely. And I think for me, it raises the expectations to where they should have always been, and that's that Manchester United should be a top team that competes with everyone in the league, that looks to play a quick style of football, and looks to perform. And I think we did that last weekend. That's where the standard should be, if you ask me. You know, yes, the standards are high now, but it's where they should be. It's where they should be. I'm feeling confident for Sunday. I do think we are going to win at the Emirates. I mean, that would be insane. Can you imagine if we beat City and then go beat Arsenal, the two top teams in the league? We might have to talk about a title charge at that point. We might have to. Form and records are out of the window for me. Arsenal have been playing dross and we played well last game. I smell a win. Yeah, I mean, Arsenal's form has dipped a little bit. They don't look like quite the well-oiled machine they did perhaps a little bit earlier in the season. I mean, I've been setting this team up this morning. It's a little bit difficult to predict their starting 11. But, you know, whilst they may have been a little bit worse recently, the squad depth they've still got is insane. Like, this is a starting 11. Is pretty darn decent, and then you've got the likes of Eze, Norgard, you know, Trossard, who's that? Gabriel Jesus, Madueke, Lewis Skelly, all that could come into the team. They've got a very good side. So it's not going to be easy for us this week. It is not going to be easy. We've got David with another gifted membership. Guys, make sure to say thank you to David. Make sure to spam him some love hearts and some W's as well, because he deserves it. He has been he's an absolute legend. David is an icon in this community. He's what a man. What a man. What if we win the Premier League or finish second? I will cry my eyes out. I mean, if we want to win the Premier League, we need to beat the team that are top of the league. Now, if we're being serious for a second, we're not going to win the Premier League this season. I would be incredibly surprised. But we've said literally from the end of last season, to be honest, particularly when we signed the likes of Cunha and Mbeumo, the aim's got to be top 5 this year, right? English teams are doing well in the Champions League at the moment, so I think it looks like top 5 will be enough for Champions League. That's where United need to be. If you look at the teams around us, particularly Arsenal, City, Villa, Liverpool, Chelsea, Newcastle, they're all playing in Europe, so they're playing more games than us, they are travelling more than us, they've got less rest than us, less time on the training pitch than us. We've got an amazing opportunity. You know, I think it'd be a failure at this point not to get in the top 5. It's going to be some sort of, tough games on the way there. But yeah, that's the aim. That's the aim. And I'm quite excited. It's nice to be positive. It's nice to have good conversations about it. And also, yes, it's just been pointed out in the chat, that has helped my week, getting the big shout out from Carl Anker on the Stretford paddock yesterday. Quite insane. Because I've watched that channel since it was Full Time Devils. Back in 2014, I think I used to watch it after high school. Yeah, insane. So yes, that was very cool. And again, I owe that to you guys. Thank you all very much for the support that sort of got us this far. This past month has been insane. So yeah, thank you guys very much for that. We again have David in the chat with 5 gifted memberships. David has dropped 7 gifted memberships in the first 7 minutes of this stream. Insane generosity, David. I can't say thank you enough for what you have done for this channel, this community. An absolute hero. An absolute hero. Thank you very much. My first time catching one of these live. Welcome to the stream. Shall we get into it? Shall we get into figuring out how Manchester United line up, how we set up, how we approach the game, what our mindset should be going into the game? Should we get talking about it? We'll start off in goal like we do every week. We've got United in the different coloured shirts this week in the black kit at the Emirates. Lomans in goal. That feels like that's going to happen, right? If anyone says Bayindir, I'm sure he's a lovely fella, but we'll ban them if they say Bayindir. Lomans in goal feels like a pretty easy one. In the back 4 though, and it is a back 4 these days, very much so. There's some interesting conversations, I think, for us to have. Now, we're still without De Ligt. He's had that back injury, which is always going to be a tricky one. Back injuries are a nasty one because they affect the rest of your body so much. So, going to be a little bit hit and miss with when De Ligt is going to return, which is frustrating because last time out against Arsenal, he was fantastic. Against Gyökeres at the start of the season, he silenced him. It was really good performance. But we're probably without him again, it's fair to assume. He's not been in training. So some of our options include Harry Maguire, we've got Lisandro Martinez, who both played very well last week, but always we've got to remember, just because they played well one week, it doesn't mean they're necessarily perfect for this week. Arsenal will raise some different challenges, particularly on the whole set piece front. Don't know if you guys have heard, but Arsenal are pretty good at taking set pieces. Yeah, so watch out for that. But also we've got the 2 youngsters, Aiden Heaven and Lenny Yoro, who have experience beyond their years, who have composure beyond their years. And I think they're 2 of the best young centre-backs in English football at the moment. So it's great that we've got both of those 2. And is this maybe a game where you bring in a Yoro or maybe a Heaven, who's even better in the air, in place of Lisandro Martinez? Purely for the thought of set pieces. Set pieces are huge in these games. Start of the season, we lost 1-0. We were the better side for 90 minutes, but we lost because we conceded from a set piece that we didn't defend at all well. So there is that argument for, bringing in a different centre-back, someone who's a bit stronger in the air, but Lisandro Martinez was brilliant last week. In the full-back department, we've got Luke Shaw on the left, and also there's always an argument for Patrick Dorgu as well, sort of signed as a full-back / a wing-back, so he comes into the conversation. And on the right, Diogo Dalot, and I think Mazraoui, right, there was sort of this expectation that he might be back in time for this game, but I've just seen in the chat that he might be on extended leave. Now, I think even if he's not, if he's back and he's available for this game, you probably just leave him out for this one. There almost isn't a need to rush him back. I think emotionally it was a bit of a weird game that he would have gone through in the AFCON final. So, a lot of people like Mazraoui and a lot of people don't like Diogo Dalot for one reason or another. But I think Dalot played quite well last weekend, and I don't think there's a need to rush him out. So if it was me, I would be sort of looking after Mazraoui. I don't know that there's a need to throw him immediately back in the team. I think he'll be back in very soon. Maybe next week for Fulham. We'll see him in the side. What do you guys reckon? What do you reckon? I'd put Mazraoui straight in if possible. Yes, yeah, I thought that might be sort of the consensus amongst a lot of people. I think that would be a little bit harsh on Dalot, though. I do think Dalot has played well recently. I thought he was very good last week, to be honest. He had that moment where he just fails an easy pass, but, that happens sometimes. It happens. Alex, good morning to you, my friend. Hope you're well. Short stream suggestion, unchanged team. I mean, there is certainly the argument for that. Yeah, absolutely possible. Yes, we did also have the Casemiro news, which we will come back to a little bit later on. We just need Schlotterbeck and our centre-backs are set for a decade. Would be lovely, wouldn't it? Would be lovely. Dalot is making good runs, but his one brain-dead moment vanishes all his hard work. Yeah, I mean, I think I saw it on Twitter yesterday, someone saying that in football, you're as good as your next action, which I thought was quite an interesting way of looking at it. And, I think Dalot was fantastic against City, but there was that one moment where he fails a poor pass. Slightly questionable tackle on Doku as well. But yeah, I think apart from that, he played well. But he's one of those players now. He's been turned into one of those players where you do one thing wrong, and that's what's pointed out, right? Harry Maguire used to have that. Harry Maguire could have, a flawless performance a few years ago. Just one poor pass, which happens to every. I've watched Tony Cruz misplace passes. Maguire could be amazing, misplace one pass, and that's what everyone clowns him for. Dalot has become that a little bit. He's become a bit of a scapegoat. So, I think people are too harsh on him. But yeah, there is also potentially better options out there for us as well. I don't think we need to hate on Dalot. I don't think he's done anything to deserve that. I think he's been pretty decent for us, to be honest. He's always available for us. He's a very important squad player for Manchester United. Now, I think for me personally, I'm leaning towards the unchanged back four. And the reason why I say that is for the same reason that I always give. I say this all the time. If you don't have to make changes, don't. Right, we're playing once a week. This squad should be fresh. They've had a nice week of rest and training. Yeah, let them go again. Let them build some chemistry with each other, some understanding with each other. So I think for me, I would have Dalot. I would have Maguire absolutely for set pieces. You've got to have Harry Maguire for this game. And I would have Luke Shaw as well. The question mark for me would be whether you just bring Heaven in for the extra height over Lisandro Martinez. That's the question. Why does Carrick look different in the thumbnail? Let me check it. He does look odd in that picture. I think the picture's been enhanced. Yeah, he does. I think an unchanged team all round. I don't know, there's some interesting conversations for us to have in attack, which is great, and I've got a point that I want to raise on that a little bit later on. Should we do a poll for Lisandro Martinez versus Heaven, purely with the thought of extra height on set pieces? They're both very good on the ball, both left-footed, so that dynamic sort of remains the same. Martinez, that more experienced player, obviously, which is big in these games. You've also got that idea of momentum, the fact that he played very well last week. Do you keep him in the team? He is a leader, which you need in this sort of match. But Heaven is that little bit taller, maybe a little bit better on set pieces and things like that. So I don't know, it's a bit of a tricky one. This light seems really bright today. I feel like I'm blinded. Can hardly see. Alright, poll is in the chat. Now, I think whilst I was sort of lining up that poll, for me, I sort of answered the question in my own head. I like the idea of physicality. I do. I think it's so important in the current era of the Premier League. Long throws being launched in left, right and centre. People taking 3 weeks to take a free kick before dishing it into the box. Corners coming whipped in and all sorts. So Heaven seems like the obvious one to me. But that performance last week was top from Lisandro Martinez. It was very, very good. And I think his experience in this sort of game. We are talking about going away from home to one of the best teams on the planet, if not the best. They're up there. They're so well drilled. They're so good at every little part of the game. I think you need your leaders, right? You need your Bruno Fernandes, you need your Casemiro, you need your Lisandro Martinez, you need your Harry Maguires. I think you need those in the team for this week. I think you need those guys in your team. Maybe it changes how we line up our attack with the thought of getting some extra height on. Maybe. But yeah, I think I'm leaning towards Lisandro Martinez. And the poll seems to be agreeing at the moment. If you want to have your say, open up the chat, click the poll. Free to do. Bosh, just press 1. Bigger games demand big players, but pressure makes diamonds, and Heaven can be that diamond. I'm fine with both. I mean, yeah, let's sit back a second, right? We've had quite a decimated squad at times this season, particularly sort of in December, towards the end of the Ruben Amorim tenure. A lot of players injured and all that. This is a nice problem to have. This is a nice problem to have. I still feel that long term, you know, maybe 18 months down the line, we're lacking a little bit of ready-made star quality at centre-back, a little bit. You know, it's sort of my opinion. But if you think, we're talking about Yoro and Heaven, 2 of the best young centre-backs in England. We've got De Ligt come back, who is a great leader. You got Maguire, you got Lisandro Martinez. You know, it's a nice problem to have. It's a really nice problem to have. First rule of management, never change a winning team. Yeah, and it's an idea that I like, to be honest. Got hiccups, I do apologise. Yeah, I think if we, especially in your defence, if you can build that understanding with your back four, between your centre-backs, between your centre-back and your full-back, you know, that's something worth remembering. Lisandro Martinez and Luke Shaw, I'm pretty sure, have played quite a lot of games together, so that's something to think about as well. Kieran, good morning to you, my friend. Hope you're well. We're going on a title charge. I believe so. And the 8-month membership. Thank you very much, mate. Thank you very, very much. Quality. Title charge. It starts with a win here, right? Starts with a win here. So let's go Lisandro Martinez, right? Let's wrap up that poll there. Yeah, let's wrap up the poll there. And let's go Lisandro Martinez into our defence. Next up is time for the double pivot. You know, the midfield, just in front of our 2 centre-backs. Now, this is where I think the conversation has changed with the manager changed drastically for a few different reasons. The options realistically for me are Casemiro, Ugarte and Kobbie Mainoo. You know, again, you could drop Bruno a little bit deeper in there. He can do a job in there. But come on, we all saw Bruno up here last week and he was mind-blowing. He's just incredible at football up there. So for me, it's 2 of these 3. And this is where I think the conversation has changed a little bit. Because we were discussing this last week. Last Friday in the live stream. And I think we ended up with that core. I think we ended with that core. Core. I think we ended up with that core of 4 players, the 2 centre-backs and the 2 midfielders. And there was that slight concern that, you know, are they going to be physical enough? In terms of speed, in terms of mobility? Are they going to cover enough yards? Can they defend the big spaces? And that's a conversation we've had a lot under Ruben Amorim, but also under Erik ten Hag before that. But I think this is where the conversation has shifted a little bit under Michael Carrick, because what we saw last week was these 4 could play together, and we just didn't ask them to defend big spaces. We gave them smaller spaces to defend. We sort of played in a way that suits them. Lisandro Martinez cannot defend big spaces, but in small spaces where he can be agile and get stuck in, he's great for it. Kobbie Mainoo's short space defending is incredibly underrated. Incredibly underrated. So we shortened the spaces for him. Casemiro is a strong dueler. He's a strong dueler. But what he's not is someone who can, you know, do marathons. Oh my days, what just happened to me? I just tried to say the word marathons. What on earth just happened? That might be like the worst malfunction we've ever had on the channel. Casemiro is not someone who can be asked just to do shuttle runs the whole game. I don't understand what just happened. So what we done was we shortened the spaces for him. And that was good to see from a coach. That was good to see a manager making those changes to play a style of football that suited us. I don't know the last time we saw that. We've seen a lot of square pegs around holes at this football club for a lot of years. So last week, it was nice to see that return to simplicity, to something basic, getting players where they want to play, finding a balance, playing to their nature, really, their habits, their instincts. I think that was a lot of fun to see. So for me, I'm going these 2 again. Now, it's a little bit concerning when you look at the Arsenal midfield, because in particular, they do have a fella called Declan Rice, which I felt City lacked last week. You know, is that Phil Foden, Bernardo Silva and Rodri. Midfield 3, and they just didn't look like they had the legs in them. Bernardo Silva will always work really hard, but doesn't have the physicality. Foden, yeah, he's not that sort of player, and neither is Rodri, to be honest. So Rice represents a very different problem for us. I think he will... I don't know. I think even defending transitions. You know, when we're trying to break, when we're trying to go quick, I think Rice might be a problem. He does represent a different challenge. But I still sort of back these two. Morning, Steve. Hope you're well, mate. Good to see you. I'm very well. Hope you are as well. Seems my voice is not on my side today, though. Do you think we'll see that 6-2-2 shape we saw at times last week, where the wingers make a back six? I think so, because Arsenal are, again, a team who, particularly in big games, particularly under Arteta, like to take the sting out of a game if they can. They want control, and yeah, they want to have the ball and sort of suffocate it. They'll look after it. They're not going to put the ball at risk if they think they're going to get counter-attacked. They're not a team to pass forward for the sake of it. You know, they don't pump it forward. They are very patient, very methodical with the way that they play. So, yeah, there is that potential that we sort of get camped in again, that we have to do some spells where we're low. I think the important thing and the big difference that we saw last week, though, was even when we went into that more defensive, more compact, if you like, shape, there was still that desire to jump, to be aggressive from it. It wasn't a 4-4-2 or a 6-2-2 that just sat there and wait to get beat. You know, on those loose passes, we were there. We were trying to get on them. We were trying to pounce on the front foot whenever we could. I think Dorgu and Ahmad did amazingly. You know, at times they were, if I can find them, back six over here. But in the next moment, they're sort of applying pressure to the loose pass up here. I think they did such a good job. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a similar idea in the way that we defend. The only thing I will say is I'm a massive fan of Bukayo Saka. I think he's a great footballer. Great footballer. I think he's one of the best wingers in the world. I really do. And then Martinelli is a very good player as well. But I don't think Martinelli and Saka represent or bring really the 1-versus-1 threat of Doku and Semenyo. Now, maybe I'm alone in that opinion. You guys can let me know what you think. Particularly with Martinelli, though, I don't look at him as a dribbler in the same way that I do Doku. You know, last week, the game plan was quite obvious defensively, right? It was to compact the middle of the pitch, force the opposition wide, and then try and deal with the 1-versus-1, try and stop it being a 1-versus-1 by getting our winger over there to help or a midfielder over there to help. And, you know, it was a little bit scary in the first half, especially with Doku and Semenyo and their dribbling ability, really. I don't look at Martinelli and feel the same way. Now, that might come back to bite me. He might go on a Messi-esque dribble. But I just don't look at him as the same calibre of dribbler on the ball. I think he's better with big spaces, which he may not be given in this game. Saka's a bit more of a tricky one, as Alex has just said. I think Luke Shaw has had an interesting history against Saka. Saka tends to play well in this game, which is why, you know, as we come to team selection a little bit higher up the pitch, you know, this position sort of feels obvious. Unless we tweak something, we play in a different way. This one's a bit more concerning. I think Trossard will start. Well, in that case, again, Trossard's a great footballer, of course he is. But he's not, again, a Maisie dribbler. He's not a Doku. He's not a Semenyo picking the ball up. He's not a Bukayo Saka. He's more of an instinctive finisher around the box, to be honest. I don't think I see him as that dribbler type. I think he's maybe a more dangerous player than Martinelli. He's got that bit more of a killer instinct, I think, in the box. That sort of sharp shooter who doesn't need a load of touches. But he still doesn't strike me as, yeah, that pure dribbling, proper winger, if you know what I mean. Feels like a different type of player. So basically what I'm trying to say is I would back the idea of, again, being compact in the middle, trying to force Arsenal wide, and these two did a very good job last week. So we don't need to change anything, right? Easy. Right, we need 3 players to play behind our striker, our centre forward, however you want to word it. We need some players in here. Bosh, there's one of them for you. I think Bruno Fernandes is quite good at football. That's my hot take for the week. Get Bruno in the team, please, and thank you. Get him high, get him creating, get him advanced, get him roaming about the pitch, and just destroying everyone in his sight with the ball. Beautiful. Lovely. On the wings, we've got some options. And that's quite nice. Patrick Dorgu. I think he was brilliant last week. Absolutely fantastic. It would be very harsh to drop him. If he was to come out of the team, I don't think it would be a case of dropping. I think it would be a case of rotating or recognising that you want a slightly different weapon for this week. But yeah, Dorgu was brilliant last week. Absolutely brilliant. But we do have Cunha. Cunha is always a shout for us just because he's very good himself. I think he had a good cameo as well. On the right, Ahmad. Dream player. Absolute dream. Mbeumo could play on that side as well. And I think also Mason Mount, realistically, could come in and play any of those positions from the start or from the bench. So what do we reckon? Who would be your 3 to play behind the striker? Now, there is the obvious argument of sticking with what we did last week, which is Amad, Bruno, Dorgu. The only thing I would like to point out is, Cunha was fantastic the first day of the season against these lot. He was really good. He was really, really good. Now, he doesn't bring the same defensive intelligence that Dorgu does. I think he brings work rate still, Cunha. I don't buy into the fact that, he's just a lazy player off the ball. I don't believe that at all. I think he works quite hard, Cunha. But it's not the same as having Dorgu, who's sort of been a fullback or a wingback most of his life. So, Dorgu is the obvious better defensive player. But I think people on the flip side would agree that Cunha is the obvious better attacking player. The way that he carries the ball, the way that he commits players is a little bit better. You feel he's a bigger goal threat, although Dorgu's got a couple recently. What do we reckon? Is Mount fit? I believe he is. I believe he was on the bench last weekend, right? I think someone could maybe fact check that for me. I'll race you. Was Mason Mount on the... Yeah, he came on literally. Yeah, 91st minute for Bruno. So... yeah, Mount is probably available for selection, I would think. He's not going to displace Bruno. He's not going to replace either of these two. So it's, would you bring him on the left? I think it's a little bit unlikely. I don't know if anyone else is with me here. We are not dropping Ahmad. Like, this is his spot. He would have to do something pretty catastrophic to lose this position right now. He is so good. He is so good. In love with Ahmad as a player. So for Mbeumo to get into this team, it's going to be up front or left wing. That's something to consider. Could Mbeumo play on the left wing? Could Cunha go up front with Mbeumo on the left? I think we need a poll. My friends. We're going to call it left wing, left midfield. Left wing, left midfield. Left wing. Dorgu feels the most likely, so we'll put him first. We'll go Cunha next, just because good cameo last week. But Mbeumo, because as I've pointed out recently, I like it. I like the idea of Mbeumo on the left. I think he can do a serious job over there. Just to sort of go back to some of what we did so well on the ball last week, I think it was Mbeumo up front. Did a really nice job of working with Bruno. These two sort of coming in together. Mbeumo and Bruno linking up and letting those wide players play super high. There is that argument, right, for doing that. Cunha can still drop in and play with Bruno in a very similar way to what Mbeumo can. And then you get Ahmad and Mbeumo high, out wide. That would be a lot of fun. I'm here for it. I'd quite like to see it. Does it work if you go Sesko up top? Maybe not in the same way, because maybe now you're lacking that profile which wants to come in and link from up front. Although I do think Sesko's sort of passing work is underappreciated, to be fair. I think he's done quite well with it this season. What do we think? And yeah, also that is something to consider. Set pieces, still, attacking them and defending them. Having someone like Sesko on the pitch gives us a huge advantage. Last time he played football, he scored 2 goals. Let's not forget that. But he can defend set pieces. He's a big guy to have in our box. So is Cunha, to be fair. If he plays in the 11, he's a good physical presence to have. These are things that the manager will consider. These all come into the thought and the thinking process, really, of trying to make this 11. Shaw and Litcher putting crosses for Sesko and Baz. Yeah, can we talk about Litcher taking corners the other week? What was going on over there? Sesko in possession is underrated. Yeah, I think he's been good at it. You dream a lot. Cunha is not a striker. He runs with the ball a lot, doesn't pass. I think what we saw last week was a different side of Cunha. He came on and played on the right side. And Cunha does have a tendency a lot to play on his right foot where he can. I wonder if that made him a bit more of a selfless player, because when he plays left and comes on his right, the goal opens up for him. Like, it's obviously there. When he played right striker last week from the bench, taking his touches right footed actually led him away from goal towards teammates. Maybe that's what sort of gave him a different feel last week, the way that he played. This is a great problem to have. Exactly that, Steve. Exactly that. All options are quality. We have missed that. And this is what I want to say earlier. With the move away from the Amarim era, I think Ahmad and Bruno have come into very different conversations. Before, it felt like we had almost 3 or 4 players for the attacking positions because Ahmad was a wing back and Bruno was a double pivot player. Bruno was in these conversations over here, and Ahmad was legitimately in conversations with Dallo every week. These were the conversations we were having under Amrim. Which of these two? Which of these two? Which is crazy. Ahmad is now a forward player in this system. Bruno is now a forward player in this system. So our depth up here just becomes incredible. I still think there's, a profile that we're missing. Yeah, I do think that is the case. We're still lacking a proper left winger. But suddenly, if you look at this, we've got loads of players who can play in and around these forward zones. And like you said, it's such a good problem. Such a good problem to have. For Carrick, this is a dream. And again, playing once a week, you just love it, don't you? It just looks great, to be honest. Chad, good morning. How are you, my friend? How is life? How's life treating you? How are the cats as well? Always an important question. All right, let's have a look at what the poll is saying. 102 votes. Thank you guys very much for that. That's lovely to see. We've got 66% going for Patrick Dorgu on the left wing. We've got 23%. Oh, it's changed. 22% going for Mbeumo left wing and 13% going for Cunha. Does that mean the YouTube maths has finally added up? I don't believe it, but it has. And Dorgu has won the poll quite comfortably. And I'm not surprised. He played very well last week, so that's understandable. And I think what it does for us is it gives us some really nice attacking options from the bench again. I was really keen to point that out when the team news came out last week. The options that gave us from the bench was fantastic, to be honest. It was really exciting. So we're probably going to have something similar this week because we think Ahmad right, we think Bruno 10, we think Dorgu left. So it's basically, which of these four do you want up front? Probably not Mason Mount. So it's which of those three do you want? And I honestly, I like that. It's a really nice conversation to have. There's lots of different types of player on that front line. You can sort of try and go with the physical battle with the centre-backs. You can try and go with the runner against the centre-backs. You can try and go with the player moving away from the centre-backs. It's a nice problem. I wouldn't want to put a square peg in a round hole with Mbeumo. I don't know if he is a square peg in a round hole on the left wing. I actually think he could do the job very well. I think he could be pretty darn good there, to be honest. Go for a poll? Yeah, we'll have a little conversation about it, and then we'll go from there. The orange boy is very orange. I'd love to hear that. For a minute, I thought you were like talking about me. I was like, do I look orange today? But I got you. I voted Mbeumo only because I want him on the field, but I agree Dorgu on the left. Yeah, that's fair. And the great thing about Mbeumo and the signing is that he can play so many positions. Now, yeah, there is a problem, right? There is that Ahmad and Mbeumo problem where they both sort of want to play the same role, do the same thing in an ideal world. So it does mean one of them gets shifted or to the bench, but it's what good teams have, and we want to be a good team. I know we haven't been one, but it's what we want to be. So act like it before you are it. Maybe is that the logic there? I don't know, but the great thing about them is that they can play different roles. And Mbeumo can go up front. He can go on the left. Ahmad can go into the 10. Bruno can play anywhere. Cunha can play anywhere across this front four. Sesko is really the only one that is restricted to one position. Dorgu could play both wings if you want him to. He can play fullback. So these are good problems to have. What are my predictions for the game? We will come back to that once we've got our 11 sorted. We'll have a chat about it. To be fair, Mbeumo offers a very similar skill set to Dorgu on the left anyway, while being more technically sound. The main difference is defensive ability. Yeah, Mbeumo, that left-footed runner, powerful runner playing down the left. Yeah, I think they can do a similar job, to be honest. Like you said, Mbeumo probably gives you that better output, that better finishing ability, more creativity in the final third, a better cross. But Dorgu is definitely going to give you a bit more defensively. So maybe this is one of those games where we go Dorgu left wing to look after us against Bukayo Saka while still bringing the attack and threat. But maybe next week it'll be a different conversation. Maybe next week we'll need something different, which is how realistically we can approach the rest of the season. Again, we play once a week, so we have those moments where we can go, all right, let's rest the squad, let's let them all get back. We don't need to protect a player. We can just go, all right, we've got this team. What do we need for them? Okay, it's City, it's Arsenal. Let's get that defensive player on the wing. It's Leeds. All right, let's get that attacking player on the wing. That's great for us. It's so good. So good. With FB Ref, where do you get reliable stats from? Yes, rest in peace, FB Ref. Actually, gutted. I don't use it so much these days, or, recently I haven't used it as much as I used to. But particularly early on in my content, it was something that we used all the time. And it still features in a lot of videos. So it's a real shame, and it's not great for the... I don't think it's great for the football community, to be honest. I think having access to those stats and stuff is a fun way for people to get involved in football in a different way. So losing that, I think, is a real shame. I know a lot of people don't like stats and will say, if we use the eye test, which I absolutely agree we should do. But I do think stats is a fun way to, get into a different side of football, looking at football in a different way. So I think it's a shame that the world doesn't have such free access to it anymore. Yeah, I think it's a shame. All right, guys, what I want to see in the chat is basically your argument for each of these, or whichever one you prefer the most. What do we reckon? Also, yes, the Casemiro news last night. We're going to do a video on that, talking about Casemiro, but also talking about how we replace him. If you guys have any players that you would like to be discussed, get them in the chat real quick, or let me know in Discord, and we'll have a look at that either today or tomorrow. I'm not exactly sure right now. But we will have that conversation, absolutely. For Casemiro, it's a shame, right? It's sad. I think we sort of all feel like it's probably just about the right thing. With his age, with his profile of player these days, to be honest. But also his wages, his wages, everything. But it's still sad. I think Casemiro is a player who's brought a lot to this football club. And I think from day one, his passion for the club has been very obvious. Very, very clear. This wasn't someone who just won the Champions League and came here to retire. This was someone who brought a serious competitive level. And will continue to do that, hopefully, until the end of the season. I think replacing him is going to be difficult. Because, he won 5 Champions Leagues. Go find him a midfielder that has done that. You can't. You might be able to replace his long passing. You might be able to replace his aerial ability. You might be able to replace his defending. You might be able to upgrade on his ground coverage. But finding someone out there who has played the amount of games that he has, that has the leadership qualities that he's got, is almost impossible. Like, replacing Casemiro like for like, I don't think is physically possible. There's not another Casemiro on the planet because there's not another player who's done what he's done. So, yeah, like for like isn't going to happen. We're going to have to be creative again in the market and try and find something a little bit different. And basically, we're going to need a lot of midfielders in the summer. We're going to need a lot because I felt last summer we needed 2. And now we might lose Casemiro and Ugarte. So surely we need at least 3. Surely. Who knows? I'm always pro open sourcing stats. Makes it more accessible to hobbyists and smaller teams. Exactly. I think it's a big loss. FB Ref was something which got me interested in looking at football in a slightly different way, rather than just watching it as a fan. You have a look at the underlying numbers and see what players are doing. I think it's fun. It's always been fun to find new players as well. So I think it's a shame. I think those stats should be accessible for everyone, personally. I think we're losing something by not having it. Hopefully, there'll be the next one. There'll be the next FB Ref that can bring us, a similar level of data, if not even better. That'd be amazing for the community. But yeah, I think it's a real shame. It's a real shame. Anyway, striker poll. Let's have a look. Give me 1 or 2 premium midfielders and 1 budget one. Yeah, I mean, that's why I like the idea of James Garner as sort of that squad option. And then you go and spend big money on 1 or 2 others. Anyway, striker, which has a T in it, which I need to include. There we go. Sesko, most natural striker. Boomo just punched my mic. Sorry, Mike. You did not deserve that. And Cunha. Just completely forgot about one of the main options. I do apologise. Sesko and Boomo. Cunha. Bosh. Or Reece James as a defensive midfielder, maybe. Oh, I like that as a shout. I mean, I don't think it would ever happen. I don't think you'd get him from Chelsea. And his injury record and everything. But, yeah. I like that as a rogue shout. I think he's a very good player in midfield, to be honest. I love Reece James. I think he's great. Sorry, I just seen from David Ornstein that Tottenham are going to get Andy Robertson from Liverpool. What's going on at Spurs? What's going on at Spurs? I don't quite understand that. I don't quite get it. I don't get it. FBref looks so empty nowadays. Yeah, it's a shame because, you know, the amount of work they must have put into building that as well, the size of it these days. It's a shame. Yeah, and I know FBref isn't the problem. Don't worry, I'm not calling them out. I'm not calling them out at all. Anyway, where were we? Where were we? We're talking about the striker, aren't we? Let's have a look at the poll. 62 votes. Thank you guys very much. If you do want to have your say, have your say. Get involved in the poll. Get involved in the chat. 58% currently going for Mbeumo. Ever changing. 30% going for Sesko. Around 10-11% going for Cunha. I will leave it a couple of minutes. I'll leave it a couple of minutes. But yeah, it looks like it's going to be Mbeumo. And if that is to be the case, am I right in saying we are unchanged? So we've spent 40 minutes to come to the conclusion, which we said in literally minute 1 of the stream, which is same 11 again, please and thank you. But I'm not mad at it, right? We played well last weekend. It's a similar type of challenge, similar type of game and game plan, I would have thought. So, yeah, it makes sense. Hello, greetings from Argentina. Welcome to the stream, my friend. Greetings from England. Hope you're well. I would use the front three of Ahmad, Mbeumo and Cunha. Yeah, so the poll has gone Mbeumo, but if we look at the subs that we get, I don't know if Xerxes fit. I don't know if he's back. But let's assume just quickly for this conversation he is. I tell you what, my friends, add a goalkeeper into that as well, perhaps by India. There's some really nice players you can bring on from the bench there. Some really nice players. Okay, guys, we've got a bit of a problem. I don't wish to be that guy, but Chad, goated mod, by the way. One of the first ever mods on the channel, I think, has just pointed out that there is only 48 likes on the stream. Now, I don't mean to be ungrateful. To the 48 of you that have liked, thank you so much. To those of you that haven't liked, I still appreciate you guys being here, but if you could leave a like whilst you're here, that'd be great. It helps a lot. It sort of tells YouTube that the content's good. Whether you agree with that or not is fair. Fighting off a sneeze. But yeah, the more you like the stream, the more YouTube pushes it. The bigger we grow as a community, the bigger we grow as a channel, the more improvements we can make. So you'd be surprised how much subscribing, having your notifications on, watching the videos, liking, stuff like that, it really does help a lot. So if you please could, that would be great. That'd be great. Anyway, squad depth. Yeah, I think those are some great players from the bench. Having Mount that you can bring on is great. I think particularly though Cunha and Sesko. Having those two. Cunha, in particular, a maverick, a proper maverick, and Sesko a goal scorer. He's off the back of 2 goals in his last game. Like that's a great thing for us to have in the squad. So these are really nice options from the bench for us, and they're different to what we've got initially, which I think is quite fun as well. So if it isn't quite working, we can make the change. We can put a different type of striker on, or we can put a different type of left winger on, or you know, you could put Cunha up here and Mbeumo drops to the left, or you could move Bruno wide like Fletcher did in one of the games, and Cunha drops in. There's a lot of room for flexibility, versatility, which I think is great, which I think is absolutely great. In terms of the way the game plays out, I'm expecting something quite similar to what we saw against Manchester City. I think Arsenal will be the team on the ball, particularly at home. They will look to be the team on the front foot, playing out from the back. For United, it's going to be, again, about being very compact. The effort from last week is now the bare minimum and is required again in this game, if not more, please. Yeah, it's about being compact, and I think it's about when we get the ball, looking after it, taking those moments where we want to get the ball down and look after it and keep it for a moment, but also picking those moments where we can strike quite quickly. In terms of looking at the defensive shape, we saw last week there was sometimes that sort of transition to the diamond in the high press. And we've seen that a lot over the past... This entire season, to be honest. It's something that Amorim did sometimes as well. We would go into that diamond where a midfielder hops a little bit higher, right? This is something that Arsenal themselves do, which is something that United need to be wary of when we play out from the back. They can do that. But Arsenal have also started to find solutions when they face this as well. So look out for the chance of the 2 Arsenal centre-backs splitting stupidly wide. Just look out for that, because that might just stretch us and sort of limit our ability to shadow mark the midfield. Last week, Bruno and Mbeumo between them would sort of lock one way, and then we always kept Rodri behind us, so that straight pass to him was never on. If the centre-backs are too wide, that might be quite difficult for us to do, because it's a lot of ground for these guys to cover across. So basically, to be effective, we've got to lock them one side as quickly as possible and then make sure we keep them there. Which is maybe why I would go Mbeumo over Sesko, because I think Mbeumo's a little bit better at it. I think he's a bit of a better presser, a more intelligent presser, and maybe just more experienced as well. I think Sesko sometimes has a tendency to just switch off and let that pass go across. I think if we want to be effective in this game, we've really got to make sure we are on it from the start. You know, we can't start slowly. And yeah, we can't afford those easy passes where Arsenal get out. Because if we let Arsenal out, you know, let's say we're locking one side over here. If we get it wrong and we let the team out, the space on the far side is crazy. Even City had it a couple of times where they sort of would work the ball around the back and find the far side. Our work rate was immense, which sort of covered a lot of those problems. But, you know, we want to reduce that as much as possible. So I think the high press has got to be right. But also, like we did last week, we've got to pick those moments where we just sit in a little bit deeper and we just look after ourselves. We get in our block, we reduce the gaps between players and play from there. I mean, if they looked after Haaland last week, you'd think they can look after Gyökeres as well. You'd think. I do play FPL. We actually have an AJ Analysis mini league if you want to check it out. I don't have the link on me right now, but if you join the Discord server, you'll be able to find it. Discord server is in the description of the stream, I believe. So yeah, you can check it out. What are your thoughts on the team leaks returning after Amorim left? I'm not a fan of them. I'm not a fan of anyone at Manchester United who would leak the news. And then I'm not a fan of any journalist who would claim to be a United fan and then leak it further to the rest of the world. Not a fan of that at all. Is it because Amorim left? I don't know. It's sort of something we're going to have to keep an eye on, I guess. Is it something that persists? Is it something that, you know, is a repeated action till the end of the season? Then yeah, it would be a bit more concerning. For now, let's hope it was just a one-off. Because there was the occasional one-off under Amorim where we would get the team news a little bit earlier. So it does happen sometimes. It does happen. Don't think it'd be Gyökeres. Who do you think it would be? Because I think Gabriel Jesus started midweek and is playing really well coming back from injury. Really well. But he's had so many injury problems in his career. I just don't know that he would start midweek and this game. I don't see it happening. Is Marino fit? Do we know? So I can quickly get him on the screen. Do we know if Marino is fit? Because that's something very different physically. But still, when we've got Maguire, you'd sort of trust that we can deal with that a little bit. And again, I just look at it and think if we can force Arsenal wide, like we did with City, and then get those double ups, I think we can deal with some of that threat. Because also, and this is no disrespect to the Arsenal players, they're incredible. They're incredible. I think they're up there with the best team in the world. But one problem that Arsenal do have is when they face a proper, compact, rigid block, and if the wingers can't make something happen, they struggle a bit centrally. First of all, because they don't like to put the ball at risk. Arteta's quite a cautious manager. In the back of his mind, he's scared of counter-attacks and things like that. So he doesn't ask his team to play those passes in there, those Bruno passes, the high-risk, high-reward ones. But also, you know, these aren't game-breaking midfielders. As good as they all are, I think they're all fantastic. But if you think last week we played Phil Foden and Ryan Cherky when he came on, I think they're a very different type of player. They are more maverick. They are players that are going to make something happen out of nothing. I'm not sure if the Arsenal midfielders are to the same extent. They're still very good. Please let me make that clear. But I don't think they're the same extent of magicians. I don't think they're the same level. So, yeah, honestly, I think if we're compact again, then I think we've got a great chance. We've got a great chance in this game once again. Because I think when it comes to playing against a block, I think City are a little bit better at breaking a team down than what Arsenal are. And last week we saw how well we defended against City. Is that a bit too much of like a sweeping, easy statement? Possibly. But, you know, I think if we get the basics right like we did last week, we then work incredibly hard. We get that little bit of luck that you always need. and then on the ball play with quality, I think there's a great chance for United in this game to pick up more points, right? And we've said this since the start of the season. This isn't a new thing under Michael Carrick. When you've got Mbumo, when you've got Bruno, you've got Ahmad, you've got these players, these level of footballer, you're gonna have a chance in a game. As long as you're tactically there, basically, just a basic tactic, and the players perform on the day, you've got an amazing opportunity when you've got this quality of player in your team. We've got so many good footballers. Last week we saw them platformed much better, and we saw the most of those players. And that's what we need to see again this week. We've said it all along. It's the manager's job, it's the coach's job to take these great players and get the best out of them. Last week we did that. Let's hope this week we can do the same. That would be lovely. More Paul Scholes comments on Licha, by the way. I don't mean like this in a rude way. I just don't have time for it. Like, these are grown men. Like, sometimes you just got to go, you know what, I'll leave you to it, mate. I'll leave you to it. Got a lot of respect for a lot of the former pros as players, absolutely. But when it comes to talking in the media, on the podcast and stuff like that, they say what's going to get clicks, don't they? They know what they're doing. You want to be relevant, like everyone on the internet does. So I don't have much time for it, to be honest. I'm not here to hear fully grown men arguing about how tall someone is or whatever. So yeah, they can deal with that in their own time, to be honest. I don't think it affects the football club at all. So I think it's sort of irrelevant. I think Arsenal will let us have the ball more and we'll have to score from breaking them down rather than transition. Yeah, so to be honest, in this game, the attacking side for United is something that I'm a bit more worried about than the defensive side. In terms of playing quickly in transition, Arsenal are much better than what City are. And even just the personnel. If you look at the two City centre-backs last week, compared to Gabriel and Saliba, there's levels to the game. The two City boys got a lot of potential, but these two are the real deal. They're one of the best centre-back pairings in the world. It's a very different level of quality, very different level of experience, composure, and all of that stuff. So that will naturally be more difficult, much more difficult for us to play against. Even the fullbacks, these are better defenders than what City played last week. Declan Rice is a better ball-winning midfielder than like the City midfield put together. So transitions will be more difficult. If we are to get more of the ball and try and break them down, again, Arsenal have one of the best blocks in the world. This should be a really competitive football match. There's a chance it's a game that goes a little bit slower at some points as a team picks the ball up, the other one sits in a compact shape and they sort of try and figure each other out. This might have those little lulls in the game, but I think it should be really competitive. This should be good teams with a lot of confidence, with a lot of quality, just going at it. So I think it'll be a lot of fun, to be honest. It's one of those that I think could go either way. I think if both teams turn up, this will be a close game. This will be a close game if both teams turn up, and that's a big if always in football. Anyway, it is a chance to go into the top four. Liverpool this week have got Bournemouth away, I think. Yeah, Bournemouth, when they play at home, are actually quite a good defensive side. So there is a chance for United to climb into the top four this weekend. Villa also away at Newcastle without Boubacar Kamara is always tricky. Of course, we can't actually catch Villa this week, but we can get ourselves a little bit closer. Looking at Chelsea and Brentford, who have they got? Brentford have got Forest, okay. Chelsea have got Palace, okay. Who knows? Who knows? Aren't you a fully grown man talking about the size of players? I would argue I'm half grown, and I think I talk about the size of players in a different way, right? I don't think I go like, haha, he little. I go, oh, what's the big fellas on the pitch? It's different, right? It's different. I have a feeling they will score a nasty set piece and then sit back as they are hard to break through. Possibly. Beating your man 1 versus 1 will be so crucial this match to cause problems. Ahmad. Yeah, Ahmad's the name. When you think that, Ahmad's the name. And honestly, Bukayo Saka as well. They're sort of the two on the pitch who look like they have that proper 1 versus 1 threat. No team with back-to-back wins. It's crazy, right? It's absolutely crazy. Like, Arsenal got 2 draws in the last 2 games, I think. Yeah. I don't know why the BBC splits the form like that. Yeah, hopefully this weekend, though, we can become that team. I mean, The draws that we got were horrendous. Leeds, Burnley, Wolves. Awful. Awful. So many missed opportunities. But, I mean, we can say we're 5 unbeaten. And what we've beat Newcastle and City in that run sort of suggests those bigger teams suit us a little bit more, and Arsenal are a big team. So, yeah, this game, a bit like last week, potentially suits us. So it's a great opportunity again. But to take full advantage of that, we need to win. So, what a guy. What a guy. I want to hear your predictions for this match. Away from home, Man United in the black kit, which is a lovely kit. It's a lovely kit to take away to the Emirates. Jesse Lingard vibes. What do we think? What do we think? Scoreline? Goal scorers? Unless it's a 0-0. If you are a member, you can use some emojis to predict your goal scorers. Pretty cool. But also the theme of the game. So who's going to win? Or is it a draw? Who's going to score the goals? Or is it 0-0? And what's the theme of the game? Is this going to be Arsenal dominant? United trying to counter-attack? Is it going to be United really on the front foot? If we go back to first day of the season at Old Trafford against Arsenal, United took the game to Arsenal. We were the better team. Last week, we didn't have so much of the ball, but I still felt that we were always on the front foot. So, what do we reckon? What do we reckon? I'll give you my prediction in just a moment. Would you bring Mazraoui straight back in? I think I would just leave him just a little bit of time. He's had the African Cup of Nations, which physically is very demanding. Also, emotionally, last week it was a bit of a weird one, the final. I'd just give him that extra couple of days off, get him back in training properly, and then next week at Fulham, he can come into the 11. We'll have that debate when we get there. But I think for this week, I'd just leave him. I'd just leave him. Let him have that one off, and then we'll get him back in the team. Diogo Dalot is fine for 1 week. Anyway, let's have a look at some of these predictions. Keep them coming in the chat, guys. Much more positive than what we saw last week, by the way, before the City game. Give us back-to-back wins. Yes, please. 2-1. Lovely. 3-1 United. Take it. Man United 5, Arsenal 0. Sure, let's go for it. 2-1 United. 4-2 United. 2-2 with an Ahmad brace. Would not be a bad result. 2-1 says Arjen. Good to see you, mate. 1-1. 3-1 United. Ahmad brace. And a Bruno goal. That'd be lovely. 0-0 with a Sesko disallowed goal. Not another disallowed goal against Arsenal, please. Please. 1-2, 2-1 United. It's going to be 50-50. I agree. So even if someone gets results, shows good tactics, and gets the best out of our current players, we shouldn't consider him and just take our chance with a brand new manager. I think my personal opinion is if Carrick does well for the rest of the campaign, he's got to be considered. I don't think he should guaranteed get the result because he's get the job because he's done well, but he should be considered. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Hopefully it's going to go that way. If Carrick's in consideration at the end of the season, it means we've had a good second half of the season. So that's the ideal situation. 6-3, I hope that's to United. 1-1, I'll gladly take a 1-0, me and you both. 1-1, Odegaard and Mbumo. United win 3-0 with United on the front foot, nullifying Arsenal. Would love it. 2-1, the column says 8-2. Yes, please. 2-1, easy. 2-2, again, it's not a bad result. 1-1, yes, United smashed City, but that is why Arsenal will be even more cautious. Yeah, more aware of our threat. I think that's a good point. Chad with a 6-1. Original, and bound to happen at some point, so I'm here for it. 6-1 United, yes please. David says 3-2, Mbumo, Ahmad, and Baz winning it with a header. Can you imagine if Baz goes away to Anfield and scores the winner late on, and does the same at the Emirates? That would be insane. Beautiful. Very edgy game, similar possession for both teams. We will be better attacking-wise. I like that. I do think there's an argument for us having a little bit more raw quality in the final third. There's an argument for it. There's an argument for it. Anyway, my prediction. By the way, we got a clean sheet last week. Quite cool. My prediction for this game. See, I really want to say 3-1 United, because you guys will know I'm always going to pick United to win. Like, you can give me Barcelona 10-11 season, and I'm going to say United batter them, because I'm deluded. So I'm always going to go United. Arsenal will score. They will. They're too good not to. So much threat. Can United score 3? Probably not. Not against that defense. Oh, last weekend we could have scored 6, honestly. 2-1 Manchester United. The goal scorers are going to be Trossard. Whether he starts or from the bench, he'll grab a goal. United goal scorers will be Bruno. That's what he does. And Ahmad, I think. Yeah. Bruno and Ahmad. And Trossard. 2-1 Manchester United. That's what I'm here for. That's what I'm here for. Currently 15 points and 20 goal difference behind Arsenal. Alright, so if we win 10-0, that sort of nullifies the goal difference problem. And we're only 12 points off. That's the plan. That's what would be quite nice, win a 10-0 win. I'm going to go 2-1 United, though. That's my prediction for this particular game. Also, look at the vibe change. Last week we were sitting here before City, and we had a lot of predictions in the chat that were like, I think we lose. I think we lose. A draw would be a miracle. I think we lose. I've been predicting 6-1 for actual years, and it hasn't happened once, but I still believe. I would love to know how many different games you've predicted 6-1 for. I would love to find that data. Because I bet it's a terrifying amount. It will happen one day. You've got to stick with it. Because imagine one week you don't, and we do it. It might be this week. Who knows? Yeah, I think that's everything, though, that we needed to discuss. We've spoken about... We haven't really spoken about Carrick too much, but we almost don't need to. We've covered that with videos. He's beautiful. He's a legend. There you go. Covered. I enjoyed the game last week. Covered. League table, we spoke about it. Fixtures, we spoke about it. And we spoke about the tactical approach and how we think United should line up. I think we've covered everything. So we're going to wrap the stream up there. Thank you guys very much, as always, for getting involved. And again, thank you very much just for the incredible support on the channel, in the community, everything. It's been insane. I think in the past 28 days, we've got 6,283 subscribers, something like that, which is bonkers. To be honest, absolutely bonkers. So thank you guys very much for that. Thank you for, the amount of likes we've had. Thank you for people joining in the Discord server, people bigging me up and backing me on different channels as well is really cool. The Carl Anchor shout out yesterday was a surreal moment because, like I said, I've watched that channel since it was Full-Time Devils, back in 2014 or something. So very cool, and it's all thanks to you guys and your support. So thank you very much for that. For this stream, I think we're now done. There should be a video out tonight, or there will be a video out tonight. I think there'll be one tomorrow, but that's not guaranteed just yet. Sunday, should we win, so we will, there will be a video in the evening, probably, I don't know, 8, half 8, 9, something like that. Hopefully breaking down how Manchester United destroyed Arsenal and are going to win the Premier League. In terms of the next stream, next week we will be back to the midweek stream, which will be on Tuesday or Wednesday, and then we'll be back again on Friday to look ahead to Fulham. If you want to keep chatting in the meantime, head to the Discord server. It is linked in the description down below. Lovely place to be. Nearly 900 Manchester United fans. Just waffling about everything football. The link is in the description for the Discord server, so check it out. It's you get all the information that you get everywhere else on the internet, but you get it without the toxicity. So it's a great place. It's my favourite place to talk about football, personally. So yeah, check it out. And I will see you guys, hopefully very soon, in a video tonight. Streams coming up, videos coming up, lots of content. So yes, stay tuned. Stay subscribed, notifications on, leaving likes where you can because it means a lot. And also the comments. Means a lot. So thank you very much. And I will see you guys soon. Discord link in the description.